The article I read was about formative and summative assessments and the difference between the two and just kind of what they look like in the classroom. To begin with, there's formative assessments, and formative assessments are just quick, short, and they're pretty easy. The point of formative assessments is really feedback. It's important that teachers get feedback from the students. It's a good way to measure where the students are, what progress is being made, and perhaps where they're still struggling. Um, Formative is a really important type of assessment in the classroom because if the teacher doesn't have an assessment to gauge where the students are, it's like wandering on a path without an end goal. Formative really helps you to see that this is where my students are, this is where they need to be, and I can figure out how to get them there. And those are kind of the three major points of formative assessment. It's just kind of where they are, where they need to be, and how exactly a teacher can get them there. So again, the key for formative assessments is just that there's change afterward. The evidence that comes from it is really important, and that a teacher cannot discredit that, and they can't go throughout the class without them because when it comes time for the summative assessment, the students might not be ready. That leads me to summative assessments, which my article kind of spoke about. Summative assessments are really important as well for a different reason. Summative assessments show where the students are in the end. They're more of your midterms, finals, unit tests, state standardized tests. They're very broad, generalized, and they're at the end of it. So it's usually over everything you've covered. And the big difference between the two is that summative assessments, you can't change from then on. You can always change the next lesson. You can always change for the next year, but you can't help those students go back and fix things. The formative is just so important that way that it just keeps going through and it provides change constantly, where summative is in the end and it's a whole rather than bits and pieces of change. Again, both are super important in the classroom. However, you can't go through without one or the other. It's just important to know their role in each. For formative assessments, many people think that they could be on a day-to-day basis or perhaps a minute by minute. Some, however, think that every 6 to 10 weeks is good enough. Personally, and from the article, I've just found that it's better to assess the students as often as possible. Like I said, formative or not, much pain. They're not very hard for the students. They're rather quick, easy. Whether that's an exit slip, holding up a whiteboard in class to answer a question, it just really helps to gauge where the student is, and that's important more often than not. Summative assessment, as I mentioned, is just bigger and broader, and so they're not going to be as often, but they do have an important role. It's important to know where your students started and where they're ending, and to know for future reference that if they didn't get there, then you can go back and change the process along the way. And also just to know where to go forward from there is really important from summative, is that summative shows you where they've ended, the knowledge they've gained over the course, over the content, or over the year. And so yeah, they're both super important in the classroom, but it's very important that you understand their purpose and when they're best used and how to utilize them. And so that's all I learned.